In our last video, we were in Apalachicola, Florida. We started at the Waterfront. Then we strolled the streets of the historical downtown. Checked out some of the awesome old buildings. And of course, enjoyed one of the local beverages. In this video,
we're in Port St. Joe, Florida.
For context, we visited Port St. Joe in May of 2024, and this is the second stop on what we called Wanderlust 2024, our road trip from Central Florida to Kansas and back.
So 30 minutes ago, we were wrapping up filming in Apalachicola. We jumped in the car and we ended up in Port St. Joe. We didn't know anything about this place, but we saw that they had a historic downtown, so we're gonna check it out.
As is often the case when applicable, we started our journey at the waterfront, adjacent to the downtown.
Port St. Joe sits along a Gulf intracoastal waterway that goes from Florida to Texas. It allows barges to move up and down the waterway to various rivers. Here you see the Cape San Blas Lighthouse. The original lighthouse was built in 1847. It was deactivated in 1996 and moved in 2014 along with these keepers' quarters to Cove Park, where it's its current location and it's open to visitors.
So after a quick exploration of the waterfront, it was time to check out downtown. This is a fairly small downtown. For context, we're just sort of strolling back and forth along the main strip, both sides of the street, and then just sort of touching on the alternating streets as well.
While it is a small town, it does have an interesting history. It was founded under the name St. Joseph in 1835, and it was pretty populated. By 1838, it had about 12,000 people and was the largest city in Florida.
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed that.
I know, this city had wealth, large homes, and thriving businesses. And in fact, it was so popular that the Florida Constitutional Convention of 1838 took place here. Unfortunately, between 1838 and 1841, the economy tanked and the population dropped from 12,000 down to about 5,000. Then in 1841, a yellow fever epidemic hit the city and it was mostly abandoned. There was only 400 residents there by 1842. Then a huge hurricane storm surge hit in 1844 and destroyed any of the remaining buildings. We'll come back to the history in a moment, but here's the Port Theater. It opened in 1938 and closed in 1967. It was put on the National Register of Historic Places in 2003, and it actually was renovated and reopened for select events in 2018. Unfortunately, Hurricane Michael damaged it then, and at present, renovations are underway so that they can reopen again.
Yeah, on that note, we've traveled quite a bit of Florida here in the last several months, and there is a lot of evidence of hurricane damage, both recent and even back decades. Of note were some of those small towns around the Big Bend, like Perry, where there's a lot of signage that's just completely missing, and you can see a lot of damage on the roofs, even of pretty mainstream businesses that just haven't had the ability to repair them yet. That damage north of Tampa would have been from Idalia, but up here it was definitely Hurricane Michael that left its toll.
Yeah, Hurricane Michael, which hit on October 10th, 2018, extensively damaged this city. Now, Port St. Joe only sits an average of 3 feet above sea level, and their highest point in town is 8 feet above sea level, which they call Highland View.
Well, to be fair and put that in context, Florida, the state's highest elevation, is only 345 feet. So basically, the whole state is one big flat swamp. All right, enough of the hurricane stuff. Let's get on with some of the history.
So after the original settlement of St. Joseph was abandoned, they reconfigured this town and Port St. Joe was incorporated in 1913. The highest population for Port St. Joe was in 1970 at 4,400. Unfortunately, it has been steadily declining since then, and the current population is about 3,350.
I've got to say, and this is no disrespect to other cities, but usually cities in decline, well, kind of look that way. I did not get the impression when we were in this city that it was in decline. This is a really nice, well-maintained city. I'm just really surprised by that statistic.
I agree. Now, besides visiting the downtown, there are many beaches and state parks in the area that you can visit, including the Constitutional Museum and State Park, which allows you to learn a little bit more about the city's history.
I don't know how well it reflects on the video, but the flags that you see throughout downtown are actually for the graduates, as we were there about that time of the year. And unless you can think of one I can't, Carol, I don't think I've ever seen a town honor graduates with flags of all the students in the downtown. That's kind of cool.
It was cool.
There were a few empty lots like you see here, and I think if I remember there were a couple buildings that were just missing. They were just facades on the outside, but other than that, I'd say this downtown is pretty much filled up. There's not a lot of empty space.
In addition to the many artisan shops and boutiques, there were plenty of local bars, restaurants, and dessert shops, so you're definitely not going to go hungry.
And here's a look at the backside of the Port Theater that Caroline discussed earlier. Really glad that they're bringing this back online. Here's a clever way to decorate an empty space. So with that said, it's time to wrap this video up. We're going to check out some of the street art and then we'll give you our final thoughts. All right, what'd you think of Port St. Lucie?
Port St. Joe.
All right. All right, what'd you think of Port St. Joe?
Port St. Joe is tiny. It's very tiny, but it's super cute. They've done a great job with their downtown.
Yeah, this is a small one. What, 3 blocks maybe?
Yep.
Not a whole lot to it, really easy. Another one of these cool coastal towns. So you got a little waterfront, little historic downtown, so thumbs up.
I agree.
All right, get off the couch. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.